what really need to focus on is that operational experience is really something that we need to look at, and operational experience. We need to go through what what experience do we actually need on the ground. If you go next slide, please. Okay, so put it back, simply, I'm from a petroleum background. I've got 17 years on-site experience. So I'm sort of talking from a field perspective. Yes, I'm an engineer, but on-site engineer, and the majority of that 17 years is on site. When we drill a well, you have an operator, and the operator owns the reservoir, and the service companies perform the duties in order to access that reservoir. We need to distinguish as to what their limitations are and what those roles are within that context. So the operator companies like Shell, BP, Exxon, etc., they basically come up with a set of procedures on how to access the reservoir, but they don't know really how to actually do the operations. The service companies, say Transocean, Schlumberger, or SLB nowadays, Halliburton, Baker, Weatherford, they're the ones that actually know how to do the work. So we're sort of looking at this like how there's a building developer, and you have the tradesmen, the architects, and everything. So the developer knows roughly how to do the job, but the tradesmen physically know how to do it properly. And we need to understand what they can do, so we don't go talking to the wrong team, and we know what experience we can actually get out of these people. Um, so what's generally happens on site is that you actually do have a person on site. The operator has what they call a company man on site. So which is, if you watch Deepwater Horizon movie, that was John Malkovich for BP, and then you had the service company, so Transocean for Deepwater Horizon, doing the work, drilling. They had the rig managers. They had Marky Mark there, being the best electrician going around, apparently. So we need to understand what that is. So the next slide, please. Okay, how to actually drill a well. This is pretty simple, very, very simple overview. Is that we have exploration wells, which go into new zones. They drill wells in completely foreign environments. But on Earth, because we have enough of a database as to how the geology may look, so we can get seismic data, we can reference that against other locations within the world, and we go, okay, this is the behavior which we're likely to see during this exploration well. However, there needs to be a lot of fail safes within those wells in order to successfully drill that well. So you'll see during those wells, there's a lot of different things that are occurring. There's a lot of safety mechanisms in place in order to drill them. And this is where we're going to, and then once you have exploration wells completed, you've got a good understanding of the formations, and then you need to, and then you move into development wells, and you know exactly where to drill. You know roughly how the formations are going to behave. The on-site personnel are invaluable during this time, especially during the exploration well drilling, because they're the ones that are physically on the ground. They can physically see, taste, smell, touch, hear any changes occurring. And that's not just the physical changes of cuttings coming back. It's how the equipment behaves on site as well. How, when you're pumping fluids down hole, what the returns are feeling like, and a variety, and how the stresses occur on the rig itself. So if the torque is changing, you don't actually see the torque indicator move first. You feel the tension within the rig structure. You know when there's a kick coming because you can feel the flow characteristics coming through the piping that's changing before you see a pressure change. So when you see guys on rig sites, when things are going very smoothly, you'll see them leaning on various items. for myself, when I was a company man and I was a service hand, I'd be have I'd be next to the piping structure. I'd have my leg touching the piping structure so I could actually feel the different flow regimes coming back through. So if you went from a laminar to a plug, or you had a gas kick coming in, you could respond to that much quicker than if you were looking at a gauge. So it's really key to have the good personnel on site to actually see what's happening and what's changes occurring. Next slide, please. Okay, so I have to state here, good on-site personnel is key to this. You need people that are experienced, and when I say experienced, I don't mean someone sitting in a simulator for for 6 months. You need someone who actually physically has the operational experience. They've seen it, they've touched it, they've lived it and breathed it for at least a decade. And this is what we really need for drilling on the moon and beyond. So these people can actually look at these varying these different things that are occurring. So, like I said, the driller himself or herself, um, they look at they've got the pressure, the flow rates of their fluid pumping downhole. They're looking at the return rates. They've got the weight that's coming from their traveling blocks. So think of a rig as a big crane, and based on that weight, they know how much weight they're actually putting on the drill bit to drill, and they know their torque. That's really the main things that they're dealing with, and they're drilling at depths at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 kilometers underground, and that is really what they're using to understand what the formation characteristics are across that entire 10-kilometer zone. So they can, once they're drilling, they know there could be a weak spot at some point. They've gone through, it drilled a lot easier. We call it a drilling break, and usually when your drill characteristics change, the cuttings shape and size changes, the amount of cuttings coming back changes, um, and these things indicate that there's obviously a change in the formation, a very significant change, and we're not too sure what's occurring now. So we stop, we circulate, we monitor the well for 10, 15 minutes, and then once we feel it's safe, we can continue drilling on. But this is all comes down to experience as to what you do and how you actually. You're talking about hydrocarbons, but we are talking about volatiles on the moon as well. The way that we drill is going to be exactly the same. The next slide, please.
2 minutes.
Yep, no drama, so I'll be quick then. Okay, so geological changes. So guys on site can physically actually monitor all these different changes here. So these are, yes, we call them hazards on site because it's something we need to be aware of. However, these things we need to be knowledgeable that once we hit these things, that we can actually change our mindset. We change how we drill and we move on. So next slide. So throw me. Okay. So when we're drilling on the moon, yes, we don't have hydrocarbons, but oil and gas is not just hydrocarbons. We deal with water, we deal with salt, we have a lot of dry wells. We drill more dry wells than what we do with production wells. So we need to understand that once we fail, if something fails and we hit a volatile on the moon, we sublimate something, and yes, we are going to sublimate. Let's not be naive. We hit hydrogen sulfide, it sublimates. It's coming at us. It's expanding 400 to 700 times, and it's going to cause a hell of a lot of destruction if we hit a significant pocket. If you click on if everyone's got the access to it, you can click play, and this is a kick occurring on that one there, mate. Is it working or not? So kicks can occur within a matter of seconds. If we have the right personnel on site, we can avoid those kicks and we can actually avoid a major destruction. So if you can see the slides, it's good. Next slide, please. So this is what can happen when things go wrong. If we hit a volatile or something goes completely pear-shaped and we don't have the right experience on site, we have formation collapse, we have pressure coming at us, we have, yeah, goodness knows what can happen. There's a million and one things. So you're either getting kicked out of the hole. If pressure's coming at you, say sublimation, you're going to have either destruction of equipment on surface, that's a $500 million piece of gear gone. If you have humans on site, you have anything puncture their spacesuit, you've got a dead human, and you're going to damage your gear as well. You're going to lose all that. But if you have the right people on site, you need last slide there, mate. Sorry. Basically, what we're coming down to is that there's two things we need to understand. Is that having the right people on site can actually give you a good survey of the ground as they drill, and they can feed that back to the geologists as to how those drilling breaks occur. But also, as well, with those people, you're going to have the experience to avoid any catastrophic or incidents. And we need to make sure those people are engaged within these conversations, and it's not just like we have to ensure we have the right people in the team with the relevant experience too.